Hello and welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, we are continuing to investigate Microsoft AI services. And today we are focusing on the Azure Vision. It's a Microsoft AI service for analyzing and understanding images and videos. As previously, we're first going to analyze what Vision can do, and then I'll walk you through a practical technical demo that you can implement yourself. So, let's start with the big picture. Let's start with what actually is the purpose of Azure Vision. Well, it is part of Microsoft Cognitive Services and it provides image and video analysis out of the box. So, you start it and you can immediately use video and image analysis. Here are some of its main capabilities. For example, for images, it can detect objects, people, scenes, and activities. Then it can do optical character recognition, meaning it can read printed or handwritten text from images or documents. Then it can identify human faces, attributes of the faces like age or emotion. Then it can understand how people move through physical spaces. That is something especially useful for videos. And you can actually train your own models to recognize specific objects for your own business use case. Meaning, if you have a special business use case, for example, you have some special documents that you need to recognize with a high precision, you can customize Vision AI vision models to support your business case. So, what can these Azure Vision features be used for? Well, for example, you can measure traffic. If you have a store, you can put a camera and then measure the traffic in your store. Then, if you are a company that needs to investigate some documentation, for example, to digitalize documents, then you want to use OCR, object character recognition, and get the data from the documents and store them in their textual form. And that can also then help in, and this is very, very heavily used in Gen AI to make sure that whatever is in the documents is then understood by your LLM. Then you can also have accessibility apps to describe images for visually impaired users. For example, if somebody cannot see, then you can make a text, and then this text can then be read again by another Azure AI service speech, and then a visually impaired person can understand what is in the image. So there is a wide range of applications. Now let's see actually how it works. So as I said, Vision is part of the Azure AI services, and it, like other Azure AI services, it evolves over time. Right now, it is called computer vision, and if you go into the service, you will see that in here you have some very important characteristics, and these are the keys, location, and the endpoint. So, when you want to connect to your vision service, you need to use the keys and the endpoints together with location and region that are given here. Now, you don't need to connect from the outside. You can also go into the so-called Vision Studio. And if we go into the Vision Studio, in here I can test the features of Azure AI Vision. You can see that these features are sorted for optical character recognition, for face analysis, and for image analysis. Now, for this particular podcast, I'm going to show you an application, or actually two applications, a front end and a back end. And what is the purpose of this application? It is to show you how to use this in, in a practical way. So the front end is here. This is a front end that lets you analyze images with Azure Vision. Now, if you want to analyze images, you saw that there can be different way to analyze images, or different features or different results. When you give an image to an API of Azure Vision, you can get different types of results. And these are called features, and these features are not available, or all features are not available in all regions. So I'm using Germany West. So in my region, these are the available features. In your region, it could be different. Now, I will select an image. This is a selected image. You see it is just a diagram of how GitHub Copilot handles its telemetry. I click on Analyze Image. This frontend will now call the API backend. API backend is in Python, and it will return the analysis. So you will see the tags. So the tags describe what is actually the image. Then it will say detected people. Now you will say, well, why are there people detected here? There are no people. Well, you will see that actually indeed the confidence for these persons are quite low. So more or less they should be removed from this list. So these are not really people, they're just very low confidence. But the extracted text, you see, is quite quite well extracted. And if you check it out here, you will see that it is very well. The text that is extracted is actually what is on the screen. The extraction of text is quite good for Azure AI Vision. Now, how does this work? So this is how does it work. In here there is a front-end and a back-end application. Front-end is made in React, the back-end in Python. Front-end serves as a way to test the API, and backend is actually Python API that calls the Azure Vision API to do image analysis. I will shortly go to the front end, and in front end, the most important function is handle analyze. What does handle analyze do? It handles the event of a user clicking on the analyze button. So what does it do? Well, if there is no selected file, so the user did not select file, it just says, well, first select file. Then it sets the loading to true, and that will have this loading animation running until the loading is finished. Then it sets the error to null, so there is no error and no results. Then it prepares the form data, and the form data will actually contain the image that was uploaded, and then it posts asynchronously to the API, to the analyze image endpoint with the form data, with multi-part header, and with timeout of 30 seconds. And then when the results are returned, then it sends the response data to the results. Yeah. And then it ends the loading animation. Now, when the results are received, then there is a function render results. It is dynamic functions, dynamic function, and if there are no results, it just returns nothing. But when the results come, then it renders the analysis results split on the features that are there in Azure Vision. So that was the front. Now, how does the backend work? Well, for the backend, we are using Azure AI Vision image analysis and Azure Vision image analysis models. And models are actually the features that we can get. And the image analysis has an image analysis client. So we are using the client, and this client actually wraps the API requests and responses. Now, we are keeping our environments in the env file, and we are actually loading them first. And in the env file, we actually have the username and the key, not the username, the key and the endpoint that we have seen in the Azure portal for the Azure AI Vision resource. Okay, so we actually set up some course because that needs to be set up for our front end and back end to communicate correctly. Then this function returns image analysis client. So indeed, it gets the vision endpoint and vision key, which are required from the env file, and then tries to make the Azure credentials from them, Azure key credentials, because they are modern way to use Azure keys. And then it makes our image analysis client and returns the client, unless there are errors where there are exceptions, and then it returns the exceptions. Now, this is very evolving field. So this field that evolves, so Azure itself changed their API quite heavily in the last months. So expect that this will change. So this is now working right now, but in a few months, maybe a new API, new better API will come. Nevertheless, let's go further. So then, as I said, some features are supported in some regions. So this function gets the supported feature from a particular region. And why is that important? Well, because in the analysis method of your client, you say, okay, well, I want to analyze these features. And if the feature is not supported, you will get an error. So you want to have your features, you want to have only supported features for your region. Now, this function is also not the best way to do it because it makes a small test image and then checks if the certain features are available for this test image. But the good thing is that this function is cached, so you just need to call it once, and then it will be called a cache result will be returned any for the subsequent calls. Now, let's go further to the main method, and that is analyze image. So this method, as input, has the uploaded file. Yeah, so this is your file, your image that you have uploaded through your front end. Then you first check if this is the image. Yes. Then reads the image data. Yes. And then the maximum size of the image is 20 megabytes. And so it checks if the image is over 20 megabytes, and then it also gives an error if it's not. Then it gets the client. So the client, as we saw, will now be initialized, and it should work if your credentials are correct. Then it gets the supported features, and if there are no supported features, then it just stops. And if there are supported features, then it performs image analysis with the supported features, and then returns the results or gets the results into the variable that will take them. So if there is a caption field in the results, then it adds the caption. So the result is actually a map between a key and a set of values. If there are dense captions, then puts them in the results. If there are objects, put the objects in the results, tags, people, OCR results, smart crops. And so it checks which results are there because, as we said, different features are available in different regions. So some results may not have all the features, and then it puts them in the response and sends them back to the front end, which shows them. So this is a very simple example of how you can set up a front end and a back end that uses Azure AI Vision to examine your images. Thank you and see you next time.